Good morning, students. Let us learn chapter 16 today, Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. What is natural resources? It includes the total natural environment, as all parts of earth are of some use to man. They are actually stocks of nature, such as water, soil, minerals, coal, forest, etc. But due to increasing population and technological development, our natural resources are getting polluted and depleted. So it is very necessary to save the natural resources as they cannot be produced again and again. Now, how does our natural resources gets depleted? Pollution. What is pollution? It is defined as the undesirable change in physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of either soil, water, and air. This is harmful for all humans as well as other organisms of earth. So there is an immediate need to take proper care and management of these natural resources to sustain them or to maintain them and conserve our environment for sustainable development. There are international laws, organizations, and different acts working towards the protection of our environment. The awareness about the problems has led to conservation of environment and natural resources. Example, Ganga Action Plan. River Ganga was getting polluted by the waste, right? So Ganga Action Plan was introduced so that for the protection of the river Ganga. It was implemented in 1985, which has undertaken to make the river Ganga pollution free. Now, why was Ganga getting polluted? Continuous dumping of waste in Ganga, they found that there is a bacteria coliform. The number in the water has increased. How will you say the water is polluted or not? The water quality is measured and the water is tested for the presence of coliform bacteria. Actually, this bacteria is found in human intestine. But if it is present in water, it means that the water quality is very low and you cannot drink it. This has led to the pollution in Ganga, as people use Ganga rivers for bathing, washing clothes, and many other activities that affect the pH of water, and it makes it contaminated. Now, in your previous classes, you have learned about methods of reducing pressure on environment. How is it? Using the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse. Reduce, it means use less. Use the natural resources in very minimum quantity, either by switching off the electric appliances when not needed, save fuel by walking, etc. Save food by not wasting it. Recycle, it means a process of waste to form new products. Practicing recycle saves sources, save cost, also reduces the piling of waste materials. You might have seen the plastic items we give to kabadi wala. Why? Because they use it they recycle it and make other products out of it. So it is very necessary to give these products which are dumped in your house also and outside also. So recycling practice should be done. Reuse. It means using article again and again. Use of used envelopes. The container of jam, pickle, etc. can be reused for storing other things. You can use cloth bags instead of polythene. There are many ways of reusing. Even the old items can be given to poor people, right? So reusing is also very necessary to reduce the dumping of waste. Now, why do we need to manage our resources? We need to manage our resources because everything we consume is obtained from resources present on earth. They have to be carefully handled as natural resources are limited. They can get over any time if not used wisely. So management ensures the availability of these resources always, today for us and for future generations. Next, forest and wildlife. In forest, we do see biodiversity. That is a wide variety of species of plants, animals, and microorganisms in a natural habitat. These forests are also our natural resources and need to be conserved, as well as they are a habitat for wildlife. Stakeholders. What are stakeholders? They are persons and the parties having a binding interest in an asset. The stakeholders can be locals who live around the forest and depend on the forest products. It can be forest department, a government body which looks after the forest. Sometimes it can be industrialist. They take raw material for running their industries from this forest. Now others are wildlife and natural enthusiasts who need to conserve forest, like NGOs. Now what is sustainable development? Sustainable development is controlling the use of resources in such a way that it has an equitable availability and continuous flow of products and services to present and future generation without any impact on the environment. Now you might have heard about Chipko Andolan. It was initiated in a village called Tehri. The people of that area realized the importance of forest and they decided not to give products to people from other areas. So what they did, they stood and hugged the trees and protested against cutting of trees. Soon it spread to nearby areas and they also started to protest against cutting of trees. So this process was known as Chipko Andolan or Chipko movement. Wildlife. As you know, it refers to living beings comprising of animals, plants and microorganisms found in natural habitat, which are neither cultivated nor domesticated. Now, wildlife is threatened due to high degree of exploitation and human interferences, like habitat destruction. Human beings, they cut off the trees for their industrial purposes. They kill animals for getting fur and other industrial needs, so their habitat of the wildlife is disrupted. Next is overexploitation and hunting. Now, wildlife conservation. Why do we need to conserve the wildlife? There are a large number of plants and animals that are facing exploitation. That means they are being killed in larger number. So, if they are killed in larger number, they will not increase in their number, or the species itself gets finished, and this risk of extinction occurs in that species, and those species who's having a risk of extinction is called endangered species. Now, how can we conserve this wildlife? Maintenance of wildlife in protected areas is done by maintaining national parks. National park is a protected area where cultivation, grazing, hunting, etc. are not allowed. Example is Jim Corbett National Park. There you can go just see the national park, see all the wildlife, and then come back. You are not allowed to hunt or cultivate or move around in that protected area. Next way of conservation of wildlife is by sanctuaries. What are sanctuaries? They are also protected area where hunting is not allowed, but all other activities are allowed. Next way of conservation is biosphere reserve. Biosphere reserve is also a protected area meant for conservation of wildlife using traditional lifestyles of tribals and their domesticated animals. Now, first one though, we have already discussed methods of wildlife conservation using national parks, sanctuaries and biosphere reserve. Second is protection of their natural habitat. Third one, using protection through legislations, using certain laws. There are a number of wildlife acts like IBWL, Indian Board of Wildlife, which was started in 1952, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, MAB, Man and Biosphere Program 1971, CITES, Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species 1976. Next important natural resource is water. It is very important for all of us. It is not only required for drinking, but also for bathing, washing, irrigation, industries, construction work, and disposal of sewage. Consumption of water has increased. A villager requires just 25 liters of water in a day, but an urban dwellers like us requires at least 350 to 700 liters of water in a day. Now, the reason due to which we fail to sustain underwater availability is due to loss of vegetation cover, diversion for high water demanding crops, pollution from industrial effluents and urban waste. Now, dams. Dams are large water bodies that are built by government agencies across the rivers to regulate the flow of water and generate electricity from this water. Now the advantages of dams are they ensure adequate amount of water for irrigation through a canal. Now, water in dams are used to generate electricity. Also, they ensure uninterrupted water supply. Now there are disadvantages also for construction of large dam. Due to construction of high-rise dam, a vast area of land gets submerged underwater, resulting in the displacement of large number of people. And this lead to deforestation, loss of biodiversity, and they need huge expenses to construct the dams also. Water harvesting. You already have learned about it and some of you may be doing so. What is water harvesting? It is capturing, collection and storing of rainwater and surface runoff for filling either small bodies or recharging groundwater. What are the benefits? It ensures water availability. It reduces the chance of flooding during rainy season and the groundwater is regularly recharged. Here you can see in the figure, this is a traditional water harvesting system. Here, the low-lying area will have shallow dug wells. So water coming as rain from higher areas flow down and gets collected in this well which is in low area. Now such a practice is called Cardian system. It is a traditional rainwater harvesting for agriculture practiced in Rajasthan. It consists of very long earthen embankment down the slope of catchment areas which help in retaining runoff water. A shallow well is often dug behind the embankment to store extra overflow water. The stored water slowly percolates or moves down into the ground. The area is then used for growing crops and for vegetations. Now what is watershed management? It is a raised area which acts as a source of runoff water to low-lying area, and watershed management emphasis is scientific method of soil and water conservation in order to increase the biomass production. It actually aims at developing primary resources of land and water to produce secondary resources of plants and animals for use in a manner which will not cause ecological imbalance. What are the advantages of watershed management? Growing more trees in watershed areas, increasing the retention of more rainwater and protection of soil from erosion. So if you grow more trees, the roots will prevent soil erosion and it can retain more rainwater. Second, it enhances the productivity that increases the income of watershed community. Third, it reduces droughts and floods. Fourth, it increases the life of downstream dams and reservoirs because of less silting. Coal and petroleum. Coal and petroleum both forms our fossil fuels, and as we know, they require much time to get replenished. So, its judicious use is recommended in order to save it for future generation. Now certain questions. Name 2 factors that can be used to find whether river water has been contaminated. One is to find out the presence of coliform bacteria, and the other is to find out the BOD value, biological oxygen demand value. You can find whether the water is contaminated or not. Name the dam on the river Narmada whose height the government want to raise. Yes, Sardar Sarovar Dam. How does increasing demand for adversely affect the environment? We are exploiting natural resources and mainly fossil fuels, which is the cause of air pollution, and it affects environment. List 2 advantages associated with water harvesting at community level. Recharging of wells increases level of groundwater. The water can be stored and can be useful in water scarcity. Write uses of coal and petroleum products. Coal is a fuel in homes and thermal power plants, and petroleum products, as you know, is used in fuel in vehicles. Thank you and have a nice day.